There is someone in your life right now who has been playing a game you didn't even know existed. They have read the 48 Laws of Power, or they have absorbed its logic through 1,000 podcasts, quotes, and clips. They have underlined Machiavelli's The Prince, or learned its lessons from people who survive by controlling others. And they are quietly testing those strategies on you. Listen carefully. You think you're making your own decisions, but you're not. You think you're choosing your reactions, your loyalties, your compromises. In reality, there are invisible strings wrapped around your choices. That generous favor they did for you at exactly the right moment. The perfectly timed compliment when you were doubting yourself. The sudden cold silence when you didn't comply. Each one is a thread. Together, they form a web. You think they're being nice. They're running an experiment. Most people never see it, because nothing looks openly hostile. No screaming, no obvious threats. Promotions drift past you and land in their hands, while everyone insists it was just business. Your ideas appear in meetings with their name attached. Your partner's friends begin to worry about you based on stories you never knew were being told. Your reputation erodes slowly, drip by drip, while theirs rises. No smoking gun, no clear attack, only outcomes. The most terrifying part, by the time most people realize there's a pattern, the trap is already closed. Their boss controls their career. Their partner controls their social circle. Their mentor controls their access to opportunities. The manipulator doesn't need to shout. They only need to pull one string at a time. Here is the first question that will change everything. What playbook are they using on you? Stop asking why they are like this. Start asking what they want. Are they following Machiavelli's brutal manual for unstable kingdoms, where fear, urgency, and survival dominate every move? Or are they using Greene's 48 Laws, a social chess handbook designed for offices, friendships, and long games of influence, where image is everything? One enemy uses the prince to wage silent war, divide and rule, weaponize fear, crush rivals quickly and decisively. Another enemy uses the 48 Laws to smile while they isolate you, flatter you while they study you, advise you while they quietly remove your options. Same objective, control, different strategy, different battlefield. From this moment forward, you are about to see that misdiagnosing which system they're using is not a small mistake. It is fatal. If you respond to a Machiavellian with soft social tactics, you look weak and confirm their power. If you treat a 48 Laws operator like a medieval tyrant, you appear paranoid, emotional, unhinged, and they use that to tighten the narrative around you. This is where everything changes. If you choose the wrong counter-strategy, every move you make to defend yourself will feel powerful in the moment, while behind the curtain, it tightens their grip on your time, your reputation, and your future. The question now is simple. Are you the player or the prey on someone else's board? You think you're backing away from the conflict. You think that means you're safe. You're not. You're already on their chessboard. You think you're dealing with a difficult boss, a moody partner, a demanding friend, but you're actually dealing with someone running a tested power script. They have read the 48 Laws like a playbook, or absorbed Machiavelli through a mentor who survived worse. You see random outbursts and confusing mixed signals. They see openings, weak squares, and predictable reactions. Listen carefully. You think it's random conflict. It's rehearsed strategy, that offhand insult in front of other people. That's Law 1 and Law 6 fused. Never outshine the master, always court attention, even if it's at your expense. That sudden surge of concern after they've ignored you for days, that's a Machiavellian mercy gesture, timed to stop you from walking away completely. None of this is improvisation. It's a campaign. And campaigns have objectives. At first, the consequences look small. Your boundaries get a little softer, your standards a little lower. Your time becomes slightly less your own. You stay late one more time. You forgive one more mood. You explain yourself one more time to prove you're loyal. Then, without any dramatic moment you can point to, your entire life architecture starts to bend around their needs and their moods. Your sleep schedule shifts to their messages, your finances warp around their crises, your social circle rearranges around who they approve of, who they subtly ridicule, who they warn you about. You are not living a life anymore. You are maintaining their emotional ecosystem. The most terrifying part, it does not look like abuse. It looks like kindness, mentorship, romance, concern. The manager pushing you to your potential, the partner needing reassurance, the friend telling you the harsh truths others won't. On the surface, socially acceptable. Underneath, your independence dissolves molecule by molecule while everyone applauds the connection. Most people see these situations as dramas, misunderstandings, personality clashes. Manipulators do not. They see campaigns with objectives, timelines, contingency plans. You argue with them about feelings. They are quietly counting how many allies they've turned against you this month. You replay conversations in your head. They are adjusting the script for the next scene. Here is the first question that will change everything. Stop asking why they are like this. Stop asking why they hurt you, why they seem so different from the person they were at the beginning. Start asking what they want. Start asking which book they're unconsciously following, the cold emergency manual of the prince, or the socially camouflaged web of the 48 laws. Because you are about to see something brutal, the very traits you are proud of, your loyalty, your empathy, your patience, might be the exact levers they chose you for. Machiavelli tells them how to weaponize your loyalty in a crisis. Greene shows them how to dress that exploitation up as devotion and destiny. From this moment forward, the question is no longer whether you're on the board. The question is which power system is being used to play you, and how you'll turn their own strategy against them in the next move. From this moment forward, you are not comparing two books. You are comparing two weapons. On one side, The Prince, a 500-year-old political survival manual written by Machiavelli in 1513 after torture, interrogation, and exile. He writes it as a desperate job application to the Medici, knowing that in their world, a wrong sentence could mean prison or a blade in the dark. Every line assumes one thing: you can be killed or replaced at any moment. No HR department, no appeals, only power or prey. On the other side, the 48 laws of power. Robert Greene takes 3,000 years of coups, court intrigue, seductions, and betrayals, then distills them into 48 repeatable patterns. It is not written for kings on thrones. It is written for courtiers, employees, influencers, seducers, people with no formal authority who still want control. The laws show you how to move inside offices, relationships, and digital spaces where the knives are hidden behind smiles and performance reviews. Listen carefully. Both manuals are amoral toolkits. They do not care if you are a good person. They care if you win. Machiavelli asks, how does a ruler seize, hold, and defend a state when enemies circle like wolves? Greene asks, how does an outsider climb the hierarchy, survive the narcissist boss, dominate the social game, and never look like the villain? Most people read them like philosophy. That is a mistake. You must read them like a mechanic studying weapons systems. Stop asking why these authors are so dark. Start asking what objectives their strategies are built to achieve. The Prince optimizes for emergency decisions. Crush a rebellion now. Neutralize a rival family now. Choose fear or love now. The 48 laws optimizes for slow, invisible constriction. Manage your image, build mystique, control information, tighten the web until your enemy cannot move. Here is the first question that will change everything. If someone is using the 48 laws on you right now, charming in public, undermining in private, hoarding information, isolating you from allies, what would Machiavelli actually tell you to do? The 48 laws trains the manipulator to look untouchable. The Prince trains you to make hard, clean moves when the mask finally slips and your position is on the line. You think this is about which book is better, but that is the wrong chessboard. The real question is, which system gives you higher ground when everything is at stake? Your job, your reputation, your relationships, your sanity. Pattern interrupt. This is not a book review. You are about to watch a combat test. We will pit Machiavelli's brutal crisis tactics against Greene's subtle social strategies in real scenarios: toxic workplaces, unstable relationships, leadership battles. Then, we will do what almost no one does. We will build a hybrid system, Machiavelli for structure and hard decisions, Greene for camouflage and social maneuvering. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about making sure that when someone brings these dark manuals to the game, you are the one who knows how to disarm them and turn their own strategy into the trap that ends their power. So here is the part most people never admit. You are not reading about some distant prince in a crumbling Italian city-state. You are already inside the experiment, right now. At work, online, in your relationships, someone is quietly choosing between Machiavelli and the 48 laws and testing those ideas on you. Look at the arenas you move through every day. The corporate office where promotions mysteriously go to the same inner circle. The startup where the visionary founder burns through people like fuel. The political campaign where every handshake is a transaction. The online creator space where collaborations are chess moves, not friendships. Even your friend group, your romantic life. You think these are natural social ecosystems, but power is already the hidden operating system. Listen carefully. In a modern corporate coup, you are about to watch both books come alive. The rising executive flatters the CEO, inflates their genius, and never publicly disagrees. Law 1. Never outshine the master. In meetings, they speak in careful, polished fragments, revealing nothing of their real agenda. Law 3. Conceal your intentions. On the surface, they look loyal, harmless, almost self-effacing. Behind the scenes, they are pure Machiavelli. They map every rival, every ally, every potential threat to their promotion. They gather secrets, document mistakes, feed subtle doubts into the right ears. Then, once they secure the role, the mask drops. Machiavelli's command, when you must injure, do it in one stroke. People are restructured, moved, let go. Enemies vanish. You feel blindsided, humiliated, confused, replaying every meeting, wondering how you never saw it. This is what it feels like from the prey's perspective. You tell yourself, they're under pressure, they're ambitious, but not malicious. They were always nice to me. You cling to the moral story because the alternative is terrifying. They were running strategy while you were clinging to feelings. Now shift to your personal life. A manipulative partner uses Law 11. Learn to keep people dependent on you. They isolate you from friends because they don't understand our connection. Your money, your social circle, your emotional stability begin to orbit them. Then, Law 27. Play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following. They frame the relationship as destiny, a once-in-a-lifetime bond forged by trauma, passion, chaos. You rationalize the jealousy as deep love, the volatility as unhealed wounds, the control as they're afraid of losing me. While you spin explanations, they are running a cold cost-benefit analysis. What gives them maximum control at minimum risk? Here is the first question that will change everything. Stop asking why they are like this. Stop asking why they hurt you, why they switch from tenderness to cruelty. Start asking what they want. What is their objective in this game? Time, money, status, your body, your loyalty, your silence. The most terrifying part, most people never make that shift. They keep responding emotionally while the manipulator operates strategically. That is how you volunteer to be the pawn. From this moment forward, you cannot afford that. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about refusing to stay defenseless. If you want to stop being moved around the board, you must start thinking like a prince, not a victim. Because in the next section, we are going to arm you with the exact hybrid strategy that turns their web into their trap. From this moment forward, you need to see your own reactions as part of the manipulator's strategy board. When you feel cornered or disrespected, you believe you are responding honestly. You are not. You are walking straight into one of 3 traps they already prepared for you. Listen carefully. Under pressure, most people flip into a binary, fight or flight. In real life, under manipulation, that binary turns into a triangle. You either explode in anger, retreat in silence, or start pleading and over-explaining to be understood. 3 doors, all of them locked from the outside, and the manipulator is standing there with the key, watching which one you run toward. Start with the explosion. You raise your voice. You confront them. You finally stand up for yourself. It feels righteous. It feels powerful. It feels like you are taking control of the game. But you think you are exposing them, and instead you expose yourself. The most terrifying part? They wanted this. Your anger becomes proof you are unstable, emotional, aggressive. They stay calm, wounded, reasonable. Now they can play victim to your boss, your friends, your family, quietly building a case that you are the problem. Once they have that narrative, they can punish you in silence. exclude you from meetings, stop inviting you, block your access to information. You handed them the justification, they smile in public, then close doors in private. That is not you winning, that is you volunteering to be framed, so you swing to the opposite extreme. You shut down, you retreat in silence, you tell yourself you are being the bigger person, refusing to engage. On the surface, it looks noble. Strategically, it is lethal. Your silence signals weakness. It teaches them your tolerance level. They learn exactly how far they can push before you fold and disappear. While you go quiet, they stay busy rewriting the story for everyone else, while you're absent from the chessboard. Then there is the third losing move, pleading and over-explaining. You try to be understood. You write paragraphs. You pour out your heart. You reveal your values, your fears, your guilt. You think you are building a bridge. You are actually handing them your blueprint. Now they know what you crave, what you dread, what words make you panic. They refine their strategy using your own language. Here is the first question that will change everything. How many times have you cycled through all three? You explode, then feel guilty, and go silent, then feel desperate, and start pleading. Round and round. You call it trying everything. From their perspective, you are about to perform 3 predictable reactions on command. Stop asking why they are like this. Start asking what they want. While you burn energy on anger, withdrawal, and explanations, they calmly adjust tactics, tighten control, and perfect their web. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about refusing to keep playing your pre-assigned role as prey. Because in the next section, you are about to see the cold hybrid strategy that replaces all 3 losing reactions with one terrifying response the manipulator never expects. Silence with a plan. Silence with a plan sounds powerful until your emotions hijack the plan in the first 5 seconds. Because the 48 laws are not written for calm, rational people. They are written for enemies who know you will react. Listen carefully. Your anger is not a problem for them. It is a resource. When you explode, they quietly activate Law 39, stir up waters to catch fish. They poke, they insult, they misunderstand you on purpose. Because the moment you raise your voice, you become the unstable one. You think you are finally defending yourself, but in their game, you just volunteered to be the villain. And while you rage, they are already using Law 33, discover each man's thumbscrew. What did you yell about? Respect, loyalty, being ignored. That outburst is a diagnostic test. Every word reveals your deepest fear, your secret need, your pressure point. The manipulator takes notes. Next time, they will threaten that exact thing. Your job, your reputation, your relationships. Stop asking why they are so cruel. Start asking what they are learning every time you lose control. Most people, when they realize anger is dangerous, swing to the opposite extreme. They go silent. They disappear. It feels like power, distance, control. But the 48 laws already anticipated that too. Law 3. Conceal your intentions turns your quiet into their weapon. They tell others, I don't know what's going on with them. They've become so secretive. Your silence becomes evidence of your instability. Then they add, Law 16. Use absence to increase respect and honor, but inverted. They frame your withdrawal as disloyalty. When things got hard, they checked out. You thought you were protecting yourself. They are spinning your retreat as proof you were never reliable. Here is the first question that will change everything. When you pull away, who controls the story of why you are gone? You or them? Then there is pleading, the late-night texts, the long explanations, the desperate need to be understood. This is where the trap tightens. Law 12. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim comes out. They suddenly admit a tiny fault. They apologize for how things came across. They give you a small concession, attention, a favor, a promise, to prove they care. You think finally they get it. No, they are resetting your hope. At the same time, Law 32, play to people's fantasies, is working underneath. They mirror your values back to you. If you want loyalty, they talk about ride or die. If you want fairness, they promise a clean slate. If you want harmony, they fantasize about getting back to how good it was. They are not changing. They are reciting your script while keeping control of the chessboard. The most terrifying part? None of this requires them to be a genius. It only requires you to be predictable, angry, withdrawn, or pleading. 3 default reactions that feed their strategy from 3 different angles. From this moment forward, see your emotions the way Machiavelli would, as noise in the battlefield. Because if you asked Machiavelli what to do here, he would not tell you to scream, vanish, or beg. His first move would be something most people never even consider when they feel attacked. And in the next section, you are about to see how that move turns their entire 48 Laws playbook against them. And here is the first question that will change everything. When they hurt you, what do you actually want? You tell yourself you want clarity, an explanation, an apology. You want them to finally admit, yes, I was wrong. So you send the long message. You rehearse the speech. You walk into the meeting, the call, the kitchen conversation, believing that if you can just make them understand, the game will stop. You are chasing closure like it is oxygen. Listen carefully. That entire script assumes you live in the same moral universe. You think they care about fairness, about mutual respect, about shared reality, but a true manipulator, running on the Prince or the 48 Laws, is not weighing right and wrong. They are weighing risk and reward, optics and outcomes. What keeps control in their hands, and you in the role of obedient prey. You argue about what is fair. They calculate what is useful. The most terrifying part, by the time you begin your "we need to talk" speech, the chessboard is already set. In the workplace, you walk into HR believing you will finally be heard. They walk in with emails printed, timelines rehearsed, allies quietly prepped weeks ago. In the family group chat, you pour out years of pain. They arrive with screenshots, half-truths, and a carefully crafted narrative about your overreactions. You think you're entering neutral ground. They built that battlefield. Fairness fights are their favorite trap, because while you are trying to prove you are a good person, they are proving you are a problem. You raise your voice to defend yourself. They tilt their head and say, "See, this is what I mean." You ask them to acknowledge what happened. They reframe it as a misunderstanding, then tell everyone how patient they've been with you. You think you're winning the argument. You are actually feeding their story. From this moment forward, understand why this is catastrophic. When you demand moral recognition, you reveal the real lever. Your self-worth is tied to their verdict. If they admit fault, you feel worthy. If they deny it, you feel shattered. That dependence is pure gold to a Machiavellian enemy. They can withhold apology to keep you chasing. They can offer partial guilt to reel you back in. Your need for fairness becomes the remote control in their hand. Stop begging them to validate your pain. Start studying how they weaponize it. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about refusing to be bait. Machiavelli would tell you, stop trying to win the moral argument and start winning the power equation. Stop asking why they are like this. Start asking what their objective is every time they pull you into a discussion. You are about to step out of their courtroom and onto your own terrain, where observation, timing, and cold strategy turn their entire web against them in the next move. You hear all of this, and a part of you recoils. You don't want to become cold. You don't want to become the manipulator. You're afraid that if you start thinking in terms of power, strategy, and control, you'll wake up one day and realize you turned into the very enemy you're trying to escape. Listen carefully. That fear is healthy. It means your conscience still works. But if you let that fear keep you blind, it does not make you noble. It makes you available. You think refusing to play the game keeps your hands clean? But in a world where others study Machiavelli and the 48 Laws like hunting manuals, your refusal does not stop the hunt. It only makes you easier to track. Here is the first question that will change everything. Stop asking why learning strategy feels mean. Start asking what actually happens to people who walk into a predator's web unarmed. In offices, in families, in politics, the ones who refuse to see the game are the ones who lose their time, their reputation, their future, while the manipulator smiles and calls it fate. This is where everything changes. You are not studying this to become the villain. You are studying this because the villain already exists. Somewhere right now, someone is reading Greene not as a warning, but as a to-do list. Someone is reading Machiavelli and underlining every passage about fear, deception, and emergency power. They are training. If you stay above all that, you are not on higher moral ground. You are lying down in the grass while hunters pass overhead. From this moment forward, Reframe what you are doing. You are not trying to become cruel. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about refusing to remain prey in a game that is already being played around you. A sword in your hand does not make you a murderer. It makes you capable of not dying when someone else draws theirs first. Machiavelli and Greene both agree on something uncomfortable. Morality in the real world is treated as a tool. A reputation for virtue is armor. It calms the crowd, disarms suspicion, buys you loyalty. But when survival is on the line, both admit that image often has to outrank inner purity. Machiavelli writes, "As a man who has been tortured and exiled, his prince cannot afford naive goodness." Greene shows how saints in history quietly broke their own rules when the knives came out. Here is the critical distinction. You can still choose your line. You can study how fear works without ruling by terror. You can learn to read the chessboard without sacrificing people like disposable pieces. You can practice cold observation, feigned compliance, and strategic reversal as self-defense, not as a sport. You are allowed to think colder. You are allowed to defend yourself ruthlessly when necessary. You are allowed to see through the trap without becoming the trap. The question now is not whether you will enter the game. The question is which system you will arm yourself with when the next move comes. You think the most dangerous people walk in like wolves, teeth bared, threats obvious. They don't. They walk in like shepherds. They arrive as mentors, protectors, saviors. The boss who sees your potential. The partner who knows what's best for you. The leader who promises purpose, belonging, and protection from the chaos outside their circle. On the surface, they gather the flock. In reality, they are quietly feeding on your dependence, your loyalty, your need to be guided. Listen carefully. The 48 laws of power do not hide this. Law 27 tells you to create a cult-like following, to become the object of devotion. Law 32 tells you to play to people's fantasies, to offer them a dream they can lose themselves in. Law 12 tells you to use selective honesty, to give small truths as bait so the larger lie feels safe. Your desire to trust is not an obstacle to them. It is raw material. You think trust is a gift. To them, it is a weapon. Machiavelli saw the same pattern centuries earlier. Princes wrapped themselves in religion, patriotism, and virtue. They praised God in public while arranging assassinations in private. They spoke of the glory of the state while treating soldiers and citizens as expendable pieces on a chessboard. They preached morality because it unified the crowd. They practiced power because that is what kept their heads attached to their bodies. Here is the first question that will change everything. Stop asking why they seem so kind. Start asking what their kindness accomplishes. Does their guidance make you stronger or more dependent? Does their protection expand your options or narrow them until they are the only bridge to your future? When you strip away their persona and look only at results, are you freer or more controlled? This is where everything changes. Most people, when they sense something is off, do one of two things. They look away and tell themselves they are being unfair, or they double down on trust, hoping that loyalty will magically turn a predator into a protector. Refusing to see the pattern does not make you kinder. It makes you prey. It makes you complicit in your own exploitation and in the damage they inflict on others using the exact same script. Pattern interrupt. What if recognizing the wolf is the most ethical thing you can do? From this moment forward, unmasking them is not cruelty. It is responsibility. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about refusing to donate your life, your energy, and your conscience to someone who treats morality as camouflage. When you expose the gap between their image and their actions, you are not attacking goodness. You are defending it from being weaponized. You are about to shift roles. Stop reacting as prey. Start observing as a strategist. Cold, clinical, like a physician studying a disease instead of a victim begging the disease to be fair. In the next section, you will learn to dissect their tactics with the same precision they use to dissect your weaknesses, and that is when the game finally turns. From this moment forward, you are not the wounded target in their story. You are the physician, standing over a case file. The manipulator is not your tragic soulmate, your cruel boss, or your impossible parent. They are a disease process you are studying. Listen carefully. Your survival depends on this shift. As long as you treat manipulation as a personal drama, you will keep asking emotional questions that have no strategic answer. How could they do this? Don't they care? Why are they like this? Those questions lock you in the role of prey. Machiavelli would rip them out of your mouth. Stop asking why, start asking what. Stop asking why they hurt you, start asking what their objective is. Control of your time, your reputation, your resources, your loyalty. A good doctor does not argue with cancer about its motives. They do not plead with a virus to be kind. They observe patterns, identify mechanisms, and select the most effective intervention with cold precision. So from this moment forward, you operate under clinical rules. No more angry texts fired off at midnight, handing them screenshots they can weaponize. No more late-night essays explaining your feelings to someone who treats your vulnerability as free leverage. No more appeals to their conscience as if it were the same as yours. That conscience is part of the act, part of the web, part of the game. You think your rage explosion finally showed them how much they hurt you, but it showed them exactly which buttons work. You think your 3-page message made everything clear, but it handed them a detailed map of your insecurities. Most people either explode or beg. You are about to do neither. Here is the first question that will change everything. The next time you feel that spike of rage, hurt, or panic in your chest, will you drown in it or dissect it? Every emotional surge is now a diagnostic signal. Every time your stomach drops after a comment, ask, what did they just do that worked on me? What lever did they pull? Was it guilt? Was it flattery? Was it fear of abandonment? Write it down like a symptom. This is where everything changes. When you start logging these spikes like a physician tracking a patient's vitals, patterns emerge. You notice they always devalue you right before you set a boundary. You see they suddenly become affectionate exactly when you pull away. What felt like chaos becomes a system, a strategy, a repeatable script. And the most terrifying part, once you see the script, you cannot unsee it. Across relationships, workplaces, friend groups, the same chess moves, different boards. This cold observation is not cruelty. This isn't about becoming cruel, it's about reclaiming power. You cannot outplay a game you refuse to map. Machiavelli survived torture and exile by treating power like a disease he dissected on paper. You will do the same in your own life, because in the next section, you will take this diagnosis and learn how to turn their own tactics back on them, quietly, surgically, until the manipulator walks straight into the trap they built for you. You mapped their tactics. Now you have to map something far more dangerous. Your own feelings. Listen carefully. Manipulators are not satisfied with influencing what you do. Their real objective is to program when you feel anger, when you feel guilt, when you feel shame, so your emotions fire on their schedule, not yours. You think you are being authentic, but your nervous system is reacting to a script they wrote 3 months ago. Machiavelli understood this before psychology had a name. He wrote that a ruler must appear merciful, faithful, humane, even when he is not. Greene expands it into full architecture. Law 6, court attention at all costs. Law 32, play to people's fantasies. Both are saying the same thing. Control perception, and you control the emotional weather inside your prey. They do not need chains if they can choreograph your guilt. Look at your own patterns. You finally set a boundary with them. No more late-night calls, no more unpaid favors, no more emergencies that consume your time. Hours later, you feel a sudden wave of guilt. You replay every word, wondering if you were too harsh. Then their message appears. I'm disappointed. I thought you were different. That collapsing feeling in your chest, that is not proof you were wrong. That is proof their conditioning is working. Another example, they go silent, no reply, no read receipts. Your stomach drops, you feel panic, urgency, the need to fix something, even though you do not know what you supposedly did. That anxiety is not random. It is the result of previous cycles where their withdrawal was followed by blame, where your terror of losing them trained you to chase. Then, the reward, a tiny crumb of approval. You're the only one who understands me. Immediate relief floods your body. You relax, you forgive, you forget the last week of tension. This is not love. This is a lab experiment. Reward after distress. Bonding through relief. Classic power strategy disguised as intimacy. From this moment forward, you must treat emotional intensity as a red flag, not a compass. The stronger the feeling, the more you pause. The more urgent the impulse, the more you slow down. Stop asking why you feel so bad. Start asking what this feeling is pushing you to do. and who benefits if you obey it. This is where everything changes. The Prince and the 48 Laws both revolve around one brutal insight. If they can control what you feel about them and what you feel about yourself, they no longer need to control your actions directly. You will walk yourself into the trap, apologizing as you go. Your job now is not to suppress your emotions. It is to interrogate them like evidence. Each spike of shame, each rush of fear, each wave of relief becomes data in the chess game. Which book are they following? Are they using Machiavelli's raw fear and survival, or Greene's slow drip seduction and image management? Here is the first question that will change everything. In the next section, you are about to learn a single sentence you can ask yourself in real time that cuts through the emotional fog and exposes exactly which power system they are using on you and how to quietly turn it back on them before they realize the game has flipped. Here is the first question that will change everything. Stop asking why they are like this. Stop trying to psychoanalyze their childhood, their stress, their wounds. From this moment forward, you stop treating them as a mystery to heal and start seeing them as what they actually are in the game of power. They are not your friend having a bad day. They are not a wounded child trapped in an adult body who doesn't know any better. They are not someone who doesn't know what they're doing. Listen carefully. The pattern is the confession. When the same tactics repeat, across months, across people, across situations, you are not looking at confusion. You are looking at a system. What system? The system of an operator, a strategic actor who has learned, consciously or unconsciously, that controlling others is safer and more rewarding than being honest and vulnerable. You think they slipped and lied, but they were testing how much reality they can bend before you push back. You think they overreacted, but they were measuring how much fear they can inject into the room to regain control. In Machiavelli's world, these are rival princes, not lost souls, always calculating, always weighing threats and opportunities, never fully turning off the power analysis, even in love, friendship, or family. When they comfort you, they are also scanning for leverage. When they apologize, they are also tracking which words lower your guard. Even their affection is data collection. This is where everything changes. Most people, when they sense manipulation, do one of two things. They either excuse it with empathy, they're under pressure, they're traumatized, or they explode in emotional confrontation, handing the manipulator fresh material to weaponize. You are about to take the third path: cold observation, clinical detachment. You stop asking why, start asking what. Pattern interrupt. What if their pain story is part of the trap? What if the tears, the confessions, the "I'm broken, please don't leave" are not the hidden truth behind their behavior, but another tool to keep you on the board? Machiavelli wrote The Prince after torture and exile. He knew real suffering, and still when he looked at rulers, he did not ask, "Are they hurt?" He asked, "What are they securing? What are they building?" So you adopt that lens. You talk about patterns, incentives, outcomes, not motives, not trauma. When they lie, the outcome is that you doubt yourself. When they isolate you, the outcome is that they control your information. When they guilt trip you, the outcome is that you overgive while they risk nothing. Outcomes reveal objectives. Once you see them as an operator, the questions change forever. You stop asking, "Why are they like this?" and start asking, "What are they building with me as a piece on their chessboard?" In the next section, you will learn how to map that board in real time, so you can see exactly where they are trying to move you, and where to stand so their entire strategy collapses on contact. You are about to discover that not all predators hunt the same way. Some build the throne, others circle it. If you confuse those two, you walk straight into the wrong trap. Machiavelli wrote for one creature, the prince, not a fairy tale royal, a ruler, the person who can hire and fire, exile and promote, fund and starve. In your world, that is the CEO who can end your career with one email, the founder who controls the bank account, the political leader, the head of the family who decides where the money and punishment go. They do not beg for power. They already hold it in their hands. Greene wrote the 48 Laws for a different animal, the courtier, the ambitious subordinate in the palace, the employee who lives by perception, the influencer who survives on attention, the seductive friend who climbs through gossip, charm, and strategic loyalty. They do not command armies or budgets. They command stories, impressions, and access. Listen carefully. The The Prince is an emergency manual for unstable thrones. It assumes you can be killed, replaced, or overthrown at any moment. Its advice is about territory, survival, and crushing threats before they grow. The 48 Laws of Power is a social power handbook. It optimizes your image, your mystique, your ability to maneuver inside someone else's system without formal authority. One book tells you how to hold the knife. The other tells you how to dance around the person holding it. In modern life, the line blurs. Your manager is a prince inside their team. They control your schedule, your evaluations, your daily reality. But that same manager becomes a courtier when they walk into a director's office, suddenly flattering, carefully curating information, playing politics to climb. You think you are dealing with one person, but you are actually watching them switch manuals depending on which direction their power flows. So stop asking why they are being weird. Stop asking why. Start asking what. What role are they playing in this scene? When they talk to you, do they act like a ruler defending territory, laying down decrees, punishing disloyalty, guarding resources? That is a Machiavellian prince securing a throne. Or do they act like a performer, managing impressions, hoarding secrets, aligning with whoever seems strongest this week? That is a 48 Laws courtier rising in someone else's court. This is where everything changes. Once you name the archetype, their behavior stops feeling random. The prince wants stability, obedience, and control of assets. The courtier wants proximity, leverage, and a better seat at the table. Two different predators, two different games of chess. And from this moment forward, you cannot defend yourself if you do not know which game you are actually in. Because here is the first question that will change everything. Once you know what type of operator they are, you can ask the one diagnostic question that exposes their real objective and reveals exactly which playbook they are secretly following. In the next section, you will learn that question and how to use their answer to turn their entire strategy against them. Here is the first question that will change everything about how you see them. What do they want that requires me to be weaker? Not what they felt as a child, not why they fear abandonment, not which attachment style they would get on a quiz. From this moment forward, that one question becomes your lens. You are no longer their therapist. You are no longer their confessor. You are a strategist assessing an enemy's objective on a live battlefield. Listen carefully. Most people, when they sense manipulation, run straight into the wrong territory. They either drown in compassion, asking, why are they like this? What happened to them? Or they drown in outrage, asking, why would anyone do this to me? Both roads lead to the same trap, endless, unprovable speculation. You think you are understanding them, but you are feeding the very web that keeps you stuck. Stop asking why. Start asking what. What do they want? What position on the chessboard are they trying to occupy? What resource becomes easier to control if you are confused, guilty, or exhausted? Machiavelli would not waste a single page on their childhood. He would ask, what territory are they trying to seize, and what weakness in you makes that capture cheaper for them? This is where everything changes, because the only reliable data is not their words, not their tears, not their eloquent explanations. The only reliable data is outcomes. After you talk to them, are you more isolated or more connected? After you resolve conflict with them, are you more dependent on their approval or more free to act without it? After their advice, are you clearer about reality or more fogged, doubting your own memory? You are about to see a pattern you have been trained to ignore. Each interaction is a move. Each move has a cost and a payoff. For example, if every argument ends with you apologizing and them gaining another concession, your time, your money, your silence, that is not random. That is extraction. If every time you get close to someone else, they sow doubt, hint at betrayal, or question that person's motives until you pull back, that is not concern. That is isolation. Ignore the surface. Their charm, their intensity, their I know I'm difficult vulnerability, even their apparent remorse after they go too far. None of that matters. Stop measuring their soul. Start measuring the scoreboard. Over 3 months, 6 months, a year, who gains power and who loses it? Who expands their options and who shrinks? Who moves like a ruler from the prince, consolidating control, and who moves like prey, apologizing for bleeding? This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about refusing to be blind. When you ask, What do they want that requires me to be weaker? You force your mind into strategy mode. You begin to see that your confusion is not an accident. It is infrastructure. Your guilt is not a side effect. It is leverage. Your dependence is not unfortunate. It is the point. Until you can answer concretely what they want and exactly how your weakness serves that goal, you are not ready to fight back. You are still inside their story, reacting to their script, playing the role they wrote for you. In the next section, you will see how to take that answer and flip the script entirely, turning the very weakness they engineered into the weapon that starts dismantling their power, piece by piece. You already named their objective. Now you have to measure the damage, because from this moment forward, your feelings about the manipulator are secondary. The scoreboard is primary. Who is actually winning this game? Listen carefully. After every argument with them, take a mental inventory. Who walks away strangely relieved, lighter, almost satisfied? Who walks away drained, doubting themselves, rehearsing the conversation in their head for hours? That imbalance is not an accident. It is the signature of control. After every favor, ask, who now owes whom? You think you are being generous, but they were manufacturing debt. They insist, no, you don't owe me anything, while making sure you feel exactly the opposite. After every secret you share, who becomes more vulnerable? Your confessions become their leverage. Their confessions, if they offer any, are carefully curated decoys. Stop asking why they are like this. Stop asking why. Start asking what they gain every single time. After a week of observation, you are about to see a pattern that has been there for months, even years. Arguments, favors, secrets, crises, reconciliations, each one ends with them holding a little more of something that used to be yours. What do they collect from you? Time is first, endless calls, late-night messages, manufactured emergencies that force you to drop your priorities for theirs. Then, your network. They accidentally meet your contacts, charm them, position themselves as the indispensable center. Your reputation follows, subtle jokes at your expense, little corrections, concerned comments that make others question you. Then come your resources, your money, your skills, your labor. You pay, you fix, you cover. While they present the outcome as their achievement, they drain your emotional energy, turning you into their therapist, their cheerleader, their shock absorber. They harvest your secrets for future threats. And the most terrifying part, they slowly bend your loyalty, nudging you to choose them against others, until you defend them against the very people trying to warn you. Here is the first question that will change everything. Who disappears from your life when this person appears? Watch for isolation patterns. Do they plant doubts about your allies, hint that your family doesn't really understand you, suggest your friends are jealous or disloyal? Do they position themselves as the only one who truly gets you, while everyone else becomes suspect? This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about seeing the web. Every manipulator has a central objective: status, security, control, revenge, resources. Your repeated losses point directly to that objective. If you keep losing relationships, their goal is isolation and dominance. If you keep losing opportunities and credit, their goal is status. If you keep losing money, time, and labor, their goal is resources and comfort. Now connect this to the manuals. Machiavellian operators following the prince. Aim for structural control, titles, positions, institutions, the levers that decide who lives where, who works where, who gets access to what. 48 laws operators chase social leverage, perception, alliances, narratives, the stories people tell about who is powerful and who is expendable. Most people see only the cruelty. You will see the architecture. In the next section, you will learn how to map that architecture like a chessboard, and then choose exactly where to strike so that one precise move collapses an entire strategy built on your losses. You have seen the architecture. Now you are about to see the first brick they always move. Before they control your money, your time, or your reputation, they go after something far more fundamental: your connections, your sense that you belong anywhere except inside their web. Listen carefully. Isolation is never announced. It arrives disguised as concern, as intimacy, as honesty. It sounds like this: your friends don't really get you like I do. Your family is holding you back. You're different when you're around them. I prefer the real you. You think those are compliments, but they're not. They are the opening moves of a power game designed to separate you from every alternative source of validation. A joke that always targets the same friend. A sigh every time you mention your parents. Complaints when you spend time with anyone else. Over time, you start pre-editing yourself to avoid the friction. That is the trap tightening. Robert Greene encodes this directly into the 48 laws. Law 11, learn to keep people dependent on you. Law 27, create a cult-like following. Both require one brutal condition: no competing gods, no competing mirrors. To keep you dependent, the manipulator must make sure that when you look for truth about yourself, you look only at them. So they chip away, they question the motives of your friends. They call your family toxic without ever encouraging direct conversations. They frame your job, your hobbies, your community as beneath you, while presenting themselves as the only one who really sees your potential. It feels flattering. It is actually strategic disarmament. Machiavelli describes the same move at the level of states. A prince who wants to survive does not allow rival centers of power to communicate freely. He centralizes information. He controls who meets whom, who hears what, who can form an alliance that might threaten his rule. Courtiers are kept in separate channels, never fully sure what the others know. That is isolation as statecraft. In your life, the manipulator plays prince. They intercept messages. They forget to pass things on. They volunteer to be the go-between so that no one ever speaks directly. Conflicts are relayed through them, distorted, then weaponized. This is not random drama. This is Machiavellian communication control scaled down to a relationship. The most terrifying part, isolation rarely looks like locking you in a room. It looks like emotional triangulation. You start to feel that every relationship is fragile, dangerous, or secretly against you, except the one with the manipulator. They become the only safe person, the only translator of everyone else's behavior. From this moment forward, stop asking why they are like this. Stop asking why they seem so negative about everyone in your life. Start asking what they gain if you believe them. Here is the first question that will change everything. Who would I go to if I doubted this person's version of reality? If the honest answer is no, 1, you are already in the cage. This is where everything changes. Once you see the isolation pattern, you can map what game you are in. Are you in a Machiavellian state of emergency, where someone is acting like a prince securing a throne? Or are you inside a 48 laws social game, where your attention, your loyalty, and your image are being harvested? In the next section, you will learn how to diagnose which battlefield you're actually on, and which rules of power apply before you make your next move on the chessboard. Listen carefully. You are not dealing with one book of power. You are dealing with 2 different worlds, 2 different levels of danger, and 2 different types of predators. If you confuse them, you walk into the wrong trap with the wrong armor, and the enemy does not forgive that mistake. The Prince is written for a universe where losing the game does not mean embarrassment. It means exile, torture, or death. Machiavelli writes after being imprisoned and tortured himself, offering what is essentially an emergency field manual for rulers of fragile states, new regimes, and contested thrones. Picture a leader facing coups, foreign invasions, and internal betrayal, where every sunrise is a referendum on whether they still deserve to breathe. That is the environment the prince assumes. You think your office politics are intense, but Machiavelli is talking about cities taken, enemies crushed, armies that must be paid, fed, and terrified into loyalty. His questions are brutal and simple. How do you seize power? How do you keep it when everyone around you wants your head? Which alliances do you sacrifice? Which promises do you break because survival demands it? From this moment forward, understand, his metric is not how you look. His metric is whether you are still on the throne tomorrow. Now contrast that with the 48 laws of power. Greene is not writing for kings on bloody battlefields. He is writing for courtiers, executives, seducers, and social climbers trapped inside relatively stable systems. Corporations, courts, industries, social circles. The structure itself is not collapsing. The stakes are slower, more psychological. Promotions, reputation, access, long-term influence. You are about to see the real split. The 48 Laws is a long-game social engineering handbook. It shows you how to maneuver when you lack formal authority, how to weaponize perception, mystique, and ambiguity when you cannot command armies or sign death warrants. Instead of fortresses and mercenaries, you manage rumors, impressions, and emotional leverage. The battlefield is the boardroom, the group chat, the digital web of who believes what about you. Here is the first question that will change everything. Stop asking why one book feels more ruthless than the other. Start asking what each author's objective is. Machiavelli optimizes for survival and concrete results. Territories secured, rebellions prevented, enemies neutralized so thoroughly they cannot rise again. Greene optimizes for image and psychological positioning. How to appear necessary, untouchable, fascinating, so that others protect you without realizing they are your prey. This is where everything changes. When the environment is unstable, when rules are collapsing and power is naked, the prince dominates. When the environment is stable, when rules are enforced and power hides behind smiles and HR policies, the 48 Laws quietly takes over. Because in the next sections, you will watch these two systems go head-to-head in corporate warfare, relationships, politics, and personal reinvention. And you will discover which one secretly governs the life you are living right now. When the rules disappear and the knives come out, the 48 Laws stop being clever and start being suicidal. You think power is about image, charm, and social chess. But in a collapsing state, power is about one thing. Who can still give the order that gets people killed? Picture this. You are a political strongman in a fragile country. The currency is falling, protests in the capital, generals whispering in back rooms, foreign intelligence services funding your enemies. One miscalculation does not mean a bad quarter. It means prison, exile, or a bullet in the back of the head. Listen carefully. In that world, you do not have the luxury of slow games and artful ambiguity. If you act like a courtier from the 48 Laws, carefully managing appearances, hinting, maneuvering, waiting for the perfect moment, you are already dead. Someone else is moving tanks while you are polishing your reputation. Machiavelli wrote The Prince after torture and exile. His baseline assumption is that your enemies want your throat, not your followers. So his strategy is brutal and simple. Crush enemies quickly, centralize force, control fear, avoid half measures. You do not teach a lesson to a rival general. You remove him, his funding, and his loyal officers in one clean strike before dawn. Here is the first question that will change everything. Are you in a world where people gossip about you, or a world where people can disappear you? Stop asking why they dislike you. Start asking what their objective is if you show weakness, for even one day. Most people, when they feel their position slipping, do one of two fatal things. They either panic and start making random concessions to look merciful, or they freeze, hoping that staying neutral will keep them safe. In a true emergency, both moves are a signal. Mercy without dominance tells creditors you are afraid. Indecision tells them you are already prey. This is where everything changes. The 48 Laws love ongoing intrigue, endless feints, reversible moves, layers of plausible deniability. Machiavelli has no patience for that when the state is on fire. He explicitly argues that it is more humane to act decisively and even ruthlessly at the beginning, to take a short, sharp hit to your reputation, rather than spread fear, chaos, and blood over years of half measures. Pattern interrupt, the most terrifying part. That logic applies outside of politics. A CEO in a hostile takeover, a gang leader with a brewing internal mutiny, a whistleblower who knows their boss can destroy their career. In all of those situations, signaling softness to preserve your image invites coordinated attack. From this moment forward, you must recognize when the game has changed categories. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about knowing when your job, your freedom, or your physical safety are genuinely at risk and switching operating systems accordingly. In those environments, the prince wins. Every time. The 48 Laws become a costume. Machiavelli is the body armor underneath. Because next, you are about to see the opposite arena. Stable companies, polite meetings, and smiling assassins who never touch a gun, but can still end your life on paper. In that world, open conflict gets you killed faster than any bullet. Picture this. Fluorescent lights, an open-plan office, glass meeting rooms where everything looks transparent, but nothing really is. Performance reviews on the calendar, Slack messages full of smiley faces. Birthdays, team lunches, We're a family here. On the surface, harmony. Underneath, a silent promotion war where one wrong move can freeze your career for 5 years. You think you're doing your job. They are playing for power. Listen carefully. In this arena, the prince is too loud. If you rule by fear, in a modern company, HR will not send you a warning. They will send you out. Compliance, legal, screenshots, anonymous complaints. If you try to crush an enemy openly, the system itself becomes your enemy. Machiavelli's blunt force is now traceable, reportable, and punishable. So what wins here? The 48 laws, wrapped in HR-safe camouflage. Law 1. Never outshine the master. In a medieval court, that meant flattering the prince. In your office, it means praising your manager in meetings, looping them into wins, making them look visionary while you do the execution. On paper, you are collaborative and supportive. In reality, you are disarming their insecurity so they never see you as a threat until you already control the key relationships above them. Law 3. Conceal your intentions. You do not say, "I want your role." You say, "I'm passionate about helping the team wherever I can." You volunteer for cross-functional projects. You ask to learn from senior leaders. Your true objective is advancement, but every visible action is coated in curiosity and service. Stop asking why certain co-workers act so helpful. Start asking what they want access to. Law 6. Court attention at all cost. Not. Here is the first question that will change everything. Are you trying to win this move or this map? Stop asking why they are like this. Start asking what their objective is. Are they trying to isolate you from allies, block your promotion, push you to quit so they inherit your role? Once you see the objective, you see that every random jab is a calculated checker move to herd you into a corner of the board you did not design. Machiavelli is chess thinking. He assumes the stakes are lethal, so he tells you to sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term safety. To accept small insults now, to secure structural advantages later, to endure being underestimated today so you can strike when their guard is permanently lowered. He is always 3 moves ahead. If you concede here, which door opens? There. If you lose this piece, what territory do you gain? The 48 laws feel like peace movement. You reposition your image. You use misdirection. You sacrifice a pawn relationship to protect your king reputation. Law by law, you learn how to slide pieces across the board with style. Powerful, yes. But if you never question who built the board, who chose the rules, who controls the center, you are doing elegant choreography inside someone else's trap. This is where everything changes. Machiavelli asks, who owns the center of gravity in this web? Who controls the edges, information flows, hiring decisions, access to resources? Who can actually end the game for you with one signature, one rumor, one call? That is board control. When you think like this, you stop obsessing over the latest slight and start building exit options, parallel alliances, and leverage that live outside the manipulator's reach. Patent interrupt. What if the smartest move is to stop fighting for your chair in the meeting and start quietly building a role in a different room entirely? From this moment forward, your daily question must shift. Am I arguing about pieces? This argument, this slight, this meeting? Or am I reshaping the board, my alliances, my exit options, my leverage? This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about refusing to be contained by a game designed for your defeat. Because once you change the game, their favorite tactics begin to malfunction. And in the next section, you are about to see how to rig the board so their every move walks them closer to checkmate. You are not going to beat a 48 laws player by screaming about fairness. You beat them by making their favorite laws backfire on contact. From this moment forward, you are not reacting to tactics. You are redesigning the terrain those tactics land on. Start with Law 1, never outshine the master. A manipulative boss weaponizes this to keep you small. They praise loyalty but punish initiative. They give you tasks, not credit. You think you're being a good soldier, but you are being trained as permanent prey. The Machiavellian response is not open rebellion. It is redirection. You stop pouring all your excellence into their ego, and you start routing it sideways. Industry events, cross-functional projects, professional communities where their shadow does not reach. You over-deliver on what they asked, but the story of your competence spreads outside their control. A conference panel, a published case study, a collaboration with another department. Outwardly, you frame it as representing the team. In reality, you are building a reputation that does not pass through their hands. Listen carefully. You are not outshining them in their throne room. You are building a second stage across town. Now Law 3. Conceal your intentions. The manipulator lives on asymmetric information. They know your dreams, your fears, your deadlines. You know almost nothing about their real objective. That ends now. Stop oversharing your plans. Start speaking in ranges, not specifics. I'm exploring a few options. I'm looking at some timelines. You think transparency earns protection, but with a strategist, it hands them a targeting map. You mirror their opacity. Meetings become vague on your side, precise on theirs. You ask clear questions, get written confirmations, but you reveal only what is already irreversible. Here is the first question that will change everything. Not, why are they hiding things, but what do they need to know to block me? Then you deny them exactly that. Law 11. Keep people dependent. This is the spine of their power. They want your rent, your status, your self-worth hooked to their approval. Your counter is structural, not emotional. You build multiple income streams, even if small at first. A freelance client, a side certification. You document your work so your value is portable, visible, and provable without their narrative. You expand your relationships beyond their web mentors in other teams, contacts in other firms, people who have seen your results firsthand. Every new connection is one less inch of leash. The most terrifying part, they usually do not notice until their threats fail to move you. Then, Law 27, cult-like following. The manipulator gathers worshippers, you build witnesses. Quietly, you find the sane, grounded colleagues who roll their eyes after meetings, who already sense something is off. You do not rant. You compare notes. You share concrete patterns, not accusations. Over time, their aura of inevitability thins, because there is now a parallel network immune to their spell. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about changing the board. You are about to see in the next section how combining Machiavelli's hard structure with Greene's social camouflage doesn't just neutralize their laws, it turns the entire game into a trap they built for you and walk into themselves. So what happens when that Machiavellian web isn't abstract anymore, but has a face, a title, and your paycheck in its grip? You are not dealing with theory now. You are dealing with a boss, a founder, a director who has read the prince as a manual, not a warning. Listen carefully. Their behavior is not random. The sudden purges where 3 people disappear after a restructuring. The public punishments in meetings where someone is humiliated to set an example. The loyalty tests, last-minute demands, weekend emergencies, invitations to badmouth a colleague, unpredictable rewards where mediocrity is praised and excellence is ignored. Keep everyone guessing. Their favorite topic, enemies and betrayal. Competitors, snakes in the team, imaginary traitors. That obsession is your first alarm. Most people, when they finally see this pattern, do one of 2 fatal things. They either confront the manipulator in a burst of moral outrage, or they shut down and submit completely, hoping obedience will keep them safe. Both reactions feed the same machine. In a court built on fear, direct confrontation is suicide. From this moment forward, your first priorities are different: safety, documentation, and building options outside their control. Stop asking why they are so cruel. Start asking what their objective is. Are they using fear to keep turnover high and wages low? Are they using chaos to stay irreplaceable above the mess? You are about to become an archivist of abuse. Every unreasonable demand, every shifting target, every retaliatory email gets quietly saved. Not to launch a dramatic lawsuit tomorrow, but to give you leverage, clarity, and a map of the trap you are in. Here is the first question that will change everything. How does Machiavelli say they see you? As useful or as expendable? A true Machiavellian respects only power and usefulness, so you use that. You become visibly competent, but not threatening. You deliver results, but you do not outshine them publicly. You are valuable, but not indispensable. Why? Because if you are indispensable, they own you. If you are valuable but portable, you can leave on your terms. This is where everything changes. You stop playing vertically, begging for protection from above, and start playing horizontally. Quiet alliances with peers, friendly cooperation with other departments, direct relationships with clients, vendors, industry contacts. You think you are networking, but you are actually building a parallel support structure so that if they turn on you, you are not isolated prey. Externally, you update your resume, build a portfolio, schedule coffees, explore exits. Internally, you stay calm, professional, strategically boring. Feigned compliance again. They believe you are still under their spell while you are quietly removing every point of leverage they have over your future. Because with a real Machiavellian operator, the ultimate power move is rarely a heroic showdown. It is a well-timed exit that leaves their game intact, but without you on the board. And in the next section, you will see how to time that exit so precisely that the moment you walk away, their entire chess position begins to collapse, and they never understand who moved first. You walked off their chessboard. Good. But if you stop there, you stay a wandering piece with no home square, no territory, no real power. The manipulator loses access to you, yet anyone else with sharper strategy can still claim you as prey. Listen carefully. This is where everything changes. Machiavelli never wrote The Prince for victims trying to escape courts. He wrote it for rulers building their own. So the question now is brutal and simple. What are you actually ruling? Not in theory, in concrete, measurable territory. Your state is everything that gives you leverage without asking permission. Skills that are rare and valuable, assets that pay you whether anyone approves or not, relationships that trust you more than they fear your enemies, platforms where you can speak directly without going through a gatekeeper, domains where your name quietly controls the game. Identify them, name them, because from this moment forward, your life stops being a story about surviving other people's power and becomes a story about consolidating your own. Here is the first question that will change everything. Stop asking why people don't respect you. Start asking what territory you have built that forces them to. Most people either complain about unfair bosses or fantasize about sudden success. Machiavelli would call both positions the same thing: unarmed new princes. In The Prince, new principalities are the most fragile. New rulers, new roles, new businesses, new identities. When you step into one, you think you have time to figure it out. You don't. The early days are a knife fight over norms. If you do not set boundaries, expectations, and standards decisively, other people will. Colleagues decide you are the one who stays late. Friends decide you are the emotional dump site. Clients decide your work is negotiable. You think you are being flexible. They are quietly writing your laws. So you must centralize force. In modern terms, that means your time, focus, and creative energy stop being scattered across people who drain you and projects that dilute you. You are about to pull your power out of every weak alliance and pour it into a few core structures that actually compound. One main skill stack, one or two flagship projects, a small circle of allies who respect your boundaries because you enforce them. Pattern interrupt. Your worst enemy is not the manipulator you escaped. It is the internal court that still serves them. The habits that keep you exhausted and easy to control, the addictions and dependencies that make you bargain your standards for comfort, the self-sabotaging narratives, I'm lucky to be here, they'll leave if I say no. Conflict means I'm wrong. That talk you out of acting like a prince in your own life. Those are your rebels. Those are your conspirators. Eliminate them with the same cold clarity you use to map the external enemy's web. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about conquering chaos before chaos conquers you. Ethical Machiavellianism means you are not trying to dominate people. You are building such a stable, disciplined structure around your time, money, reputation, and emotional energy that no external prince, no green-reading courtier can easily bend you into their strategy. Because in the next section, you will see how to fuse Machiavelli's structural power with the 48 Laws' social camouflage, so you can move through any court, any workplace, any relationship, looking harmless while your own principality grows in the background, untouchable. You are about to build something most people never even attempt: an outer courtier that protects an inner prince. Outwardly, you move through the web looking harmless. Inwardly, you are running Machiavelli's chessboard, expanding your base, securing your resources, strengthening your will. You think power means becoming a manipulator, but that's the trap. The 48 Laws can be armor, not poison. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about refusing to stay exposed. Listen carefully. You do not need to love the game to understand it. You learn their tactics so you stop being prey. When you study Greene, you are not swearing loyalty to the enemy. You are decoding the operating system of the court you already live in, the office politics, the group chats, the family drama, the subtle threats to your autonomy. From this moment forward, you use their language to protect your mission, not to feed your ego. Here is the first question that will change everything. Stop asking why people are manipulative. Start asking what their objective is with you. Once you see that, you can deploy strategic humility. You appear less ambitious than you are, less informed than you are, less affected than you are. To the insecure boss, you are loyal, modest, no threat. Behind that mask, you quietly build skills, savings, allies, your principality they cannot see. Most people either overshare to prove honesty, or they shut down and look hostile. Law 4 gives you a third path. Always say less than necessary, not as a trick, but as a boundary. Your plans, protected. Your deepest emotions, protected. Your vulnerabilities, locked away from anyone who has not earned access through consistency and reciprocity. You answer questions clearly without narrating your entire internal world. You let silence do half the work. Notice what this does to control. The manipulator cannot weaponize what they do not have. They cannot twist a confession you never gave. They cannot anticipate a move you never announced. Every time you withhold unnecessary detail, you remove ammunition from their hands while looking perfectly cooperative. Then, Law 6. Court attention at all cost. This is where everything changes. Most people chase attention around drama, conflict, or fake mystique and become prisoners of the persona they created. You do the opposite. You build visibility around your work, your competence, your values. You speak up when it highlights results, not when it feeds chaos. You become known for reliability under pressure, not noise under stress. Stop performing a self you secretly despise. Start crafting an outer performance that shields who you really are, so your inner mission can operate without constant attack. The goal is alignment. Your mask serves your core, not the other way around. Your courtier protects your prince. Because in the next section, you will see how to escalate this, how to use that calm, controlled outer shell to launch decisive Machiavellian moves when the game turns open war, and walk away with your integrity intact. Your courtier protects your prince, but there is one more upgrade you cannot skip. Your identity. Listen carefully. Up until now, you have probably told your story as the tale of the good person who keeps getting blindsided, used, sidelined, betrayed. You think those memories are proof that you are naive, too soft for this game. They are not. From this moment forward, those are not scars. Those are files. Every humiliation, case study, every time a manipulator dangled affection, opportunity, or approval and then yanked it away. Evidence. You are about to reopen your past like an intelligence officer going through intercepted messages. What law did they use when they isolated you from your allies? What Machiavellian principle was at work when they offered mercy, then weaponized your gratitude? Stop asking why they did this to you. Start asking what they wanted. That boss who praised you in public and undermined you in private, were they running Greene's court attention at all costs, feeding off your reliability while stealing your credit? That partner who kept you off balance with hot and cold affection, were they following Machiavelli's warning, keeping you dependent so you could never become a threat? Most people, when they remember these moments, do one of two things. They either drown in self-blame, or they romanticize their pain as proof of moral superiority. Both responses keep you as prey. This is where everything changes. You are not replaying these scenes to cry over them again. You are dissecting them. You are mapping the web. Here is the first question that will change everything. If that situation happened today, with the knowledge you now have, what would you see that you missed then? The timing of their compliments, the sudden coldness when you set a boundary, the way every favor created a new invisible debt. You start to notice that the same patterns repeat across jobs, friendships, relationships, different faces, same script. And understand this, strategists are made, not born. Machiavelli wrote The Prince after he was tortured, exiled, and stripped of power. Greene built the 48 Laws from years of watching powerful people from the sidelines. With no formal authority of his own, they were not born untouchable. They were forced to study the game because the game almost destroyed them. So here is your challenge. Are you willing to stop being the character who means well but always gets hurt, and become the calm, dangerous person who sees 3 moves ahead? This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about becoming unmanipulable. It is about learning the language of power so you can protect your own throne and shield the people who have never even realized they are on a chessboard. Because in the next section, you will take this upgraded identity and plug it into a hybrid system. Machiavelli for survival, Greene for social camouflage. And when you see how they combine, you will realize who has quietly been using both on you all along. You have the hybrid system in your head, Machiavelli for survival, Greene for social camouflage. Now the question is simple. Will you keep this as theory, or will you start moving pieces on the board? Listen carefully. Power is not built in grand speeches or dramatic ultimatums. It is built in tiny, almost invisible experiments. One conversation where you say less than usual. One boundary you enforce without over-explaining. One favor you politely decline, and then sit in the silence that follows. You are about to discover who has been feeding on your compliance. Here is the first question that will change everything. In your next interaction, will you perform the old script, or will you run a controlled experiment? You think you need a perfect plan, but you need a small test. Say less. Let them talk. Watch who rushes to fill the space with pressure, guilt, or flattery, desperate to pull you back into the web where they had control. Stop asking why they react this way. Start asking what their objective is. When you enforce a boundary without a 3-paragraph explanation, who respects it, even awkwardly, and who escalates? Who suddenly forgets you said no? Who tries a new tactic? Praise, fear, self-pity, to drag you back into the old game. Every reaction is data. Every micro-conflict is a live demonstration of their strategy. From this moment forward, you are not a people-pleaser stumbling through conversations. You are a scientist in a hostile lab. You introduce a small change, less talking, firmer no, slower response, and you observe. No announcements, no speeches, no dramatic declarations that you are done being used. Machiavelli would laugh at that. You do not warn the enemy that you have upgraded your defenses. This is where everything changes. You think you need to tell people you've changed so they treat you differently. In reality, you let them discover, slowly and painfully, that the old levers no longer move you. The manipulator presses the guilt button. Nothing. They pull the anger trigger. Silence. They try the "after all I've done for you" trap. You acknowledge the words, not the control. Their frustration is not your cue to explain yourself. It is proof the trap is failing. The most terrifying part, some people will push harder. That is not a sign you are wrong. That is confirmation they were feeding on your weakness. People who care about you will adapt, even if they stumble at first. They will ask, they will negotiate, they will respect the new line. Predators will test, scratch, and circle, furious that their favorite prey has grown teeth. These micro-tests are not small. They are training for the real battles, the job you walk away from, the relationship you end, the leadership role you step into, where both the prince and the 48 laws become reference points, not fantasies. Today you say less in a meeting. Tomorrow you refuse a promotion that is actually a trap. Later you restructure your entire life around power, not appeasement. And in the next section you will see how to scale this. From quiet experiments in daily life to a full strategic campaign, where your new identity is no longer a test, it is the new regime. But there is a hidden danger in all of this. Once you start winning, once the traps become obvious and the chessboard lights up in your mind, a new temptation appears. You stop asking, "How do I protect myself?" and you start whispering, "How far could I go if I used this on everyone?" Listen carefully. This is where everything changes. You are about to cross a line without noticing it. Most people, when they first absorb Machiavelli and the 48 laws, make one of two mistakes. They either reject everything as evil and stay weak, or they swing to the other extreme and become the very predator they were trying to escape. The most terrifying part, both paths are reactions. Neither is power. Real power is conscious choice. So here is the first question that will change everything. When you use a strategy, what is your objective? Are you hiding information because revealing it would expose you to a manipulator, or because you want to trap someone who trusts you? You think you are being careful, but if the goal is to watch them walk into a web you designed for sport, You are no longer defending yourself. You are hunting. Ask this next: am I building dependence or encouraging independence? When you give advice, resources, attention, are you quietly structuring it so they cannot move without you? Or are you equipping them to stand on their own feet, even if that means they might walk away from you? Stop calling it loyalty if what you really want is a private army. Then go even darker. How do you treat people who do not serve your agenda? Do you punish distance with coldness, sabotage, or gossip? Do you withhold opportunities, information, or protection from those who refuse to play your game? Stop asking why they deserve it. Start asking what you get from their pain. From this moment forward, use a simple principle. Machiavelli protects your structure, your job, your family, your core stability when enemies attack. Greene protects your image, your reputation, your social position, your ability to move through hostile environments without bleeding. Neither gives you a license to destroy innocent people because you are bored, angry, or curious how far your control can reach. Understand this clearly. True power does not require constant manipulation. The more stable your internal base, your skills, your resources, your alliances, and the more stable your external base, your systems, your savings, your exit options, the less you need to pull strings to feel safe. You stop micromanaging every conversation when you know that even if one relationship collapses, your life does not. Anyone can become a small tyrant in a tiny kingdom. That is easy. Real strength is looking at someone you could trap, someone you could break, and saying, "No, that is not necessary." This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about becoming unbreakable, without becoming unhuman. Because in the next phase, you will scale your power again, but this time with breaks built in. You will not only win the game, you will decide which games are beneath you. You are about to meet the version of you that both books were secretly written for. Not the panicked target, not the exhausted prey. The person who walks into the same web, sees every thread, and smiles because they already know the exits. Listen carefully. 5 years from now, you walk into pressure the way other people walk into a room. Calm. Your heart rate barely moves when someone raises their voice, withholds affection, or threatens your reputation. Guilt slides off you because you can separate responsibility from manipulation. Isolation fails because you have built quiet alliances everywhere. You do not need to announce your power. People feel it in how slowly you react, how carefully you choose your words, how impossible you are to hurt. How would Machiavelli see that person? As a prince of their own life, not a ruler of a country, but a ruler of their attention, their boundaries, their time. You think power is about being feared, but his real obsession was stability. He would see that you have mapped the threats, the friend who uses secrets as leverage, the boss who weaponizes uncertainty, the partner who uses tears as control. You do not hate them, you classify them. You decide who gets access, who gets distance, and who gets nothing. Clear, cold, quiet. He wrote The Prince, expecting that at any moment someone could take your throne, your job, or your life. When your future self senses a potential coup, a smear campaign at work, a triangulation attempt in your family, you do not beg, you do not explode. You move resources, you move information, you move first. Now look at the same future through Robert Greene's eyes. He would see a living case study in social power that did not eat its own soul. You can walk into a corporate boardroom, a family dinner, or a hostile group chat and read the game in minutes. Who needs validation? Who fears exclusion? Who hides behind moral outrage? You understand the 48 laws, but they do not own you. Most people either reject the game and stay naive, or devour the 48 laws and become theatrical villains. You become the third option. You use strategy without becoming a slave to performance. You can charm without lying. You can withdraw without sulking. You can say no without writing a 3-page apology. Here is the first question that will change everything. What builds that person? Not one dramatic betrayal, not one cinematic confrontation. Thousands of small moves. Every time you stop asking why they are like this and start asking what they want, you harden. Every time you document instead of argue, clarify instead of assume, delay your reaction by 10 seconds, you shift from piece to player on the chessboard. From this moment forward, every no you say to guilt, every boundary you enforce without a speech, every alliance you build outside the manipulator's line of sight, that is statecraft. That is you writing your own prince while living the 48 laws with breaks. Because you've seen the weapons now. You've watched how control really works. The most terrifying part, from here, you do not get to unknow it. You either stay at target or you become something else entirely. In the next phase, you will decide exactly what that something else is and how far you're truly willing to go when the enemy refuses to let go of the game. You stand at a fork in the dark. On one side, the prince. On the other, the 48 laws of power. If you choose wrong for the world you're actually in, you don't just lose the game. You become prey. Listen carefully. The core distinction is brutal and simple. Machiavelli wrote The Prince as an emergency manual for unstable, high-stakes states where you can be killed, exiled, or replaced overnight. In that world, survival and structural control matter more than image. You secure fortresses, purge threats, control armies, and treat mercy as a calculation, not a mood. The 48 laws, born from 3,000 years of courtiers and social climbers, dominate in stable, reputation-driven environments where perception is power. Offices, industries, social media, long games of influence. There, the throne is attention, access, and narrative. So which system wins? Wrong question. Stop asking why one book seems harsher or smarter. Stop asking why. Start asking what each one is designed to do. Neither is better in the abstract. Each is a specialized weapon. Your power comes from choosing the right blade for the battlefield you are actually standing on. When the environment is chaotic, when leadership turns over fast, when one mistake can cost you everything, the prince wins. You think you're in an office drama, but you're in a quiet civil war. In that world, you map factions, secure your base, and act decisively, even ruthlessly, to prevent being removed from the board. Image is secondary. Control of the structure is everything. When the environment is stable, rules are enforced, and people can't openly attack without consequences, the 48 laws win. The manipulator there doesn't seize castles. They seize reputations. They use flattery, ambiguity, and gossip as their private army. In that world, you win by managing appearances, mastering timing, and staying unreadable while their ego overextends. But the real advantage? Hybrid strategy. From this moment forward, you think like a prince internally, while you move like a courtier externally. Internally, you map power, secure your base of resources, information and allies, and make cold, decisive moves when necessary. Externally, you manage appearances, avoid unnecessary enemies, and refuse to broadcast your full intent. You smile while you rewire the chessboard. Here is the first question that will change everything. What do they want that requires me to be weaker? That single line is your diagnostic tool. Then you map your environment. Who controls what? Who fears whom? Who feeds whose ego? Finally, you identify the throne they're chasing. Status, budget, followers, emotional control, and see exactly where you've been pulled into their web. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about becoming literate. Understanding these systems does not make you paranoid. It makes you fluent in a language that has been used on you your entire life. And in the next phase, you are about to decide how fluently you're willing to speak it when the enemy refuses to drop the game. So now the question is no longer, are they manipulating me? The question is, what are you going to do about it in the next 24 hours? This is where everything changes. Not in theory, in concrete moves. Listen carefully. You are about to run a 3-step operation on your own life. Not a journal exercise, a strategy session. Treat it like Machiavelli sitting down to plan the survival of a state, not you venting about a bad week. Move 1. Choose a single relationship or environment. 1. Your boss who jokes about your job security. The partner who keeps you walking on eggshells. The friend who always needs a favor when you are most exhausted. From this moment forward, stop asking why they are like this. Start asking what they want. Here is the first question that will change everything. If you strip away their words and look only at results, what is their objective? Take a page from The Prince. Assume they are using your weakness as a resource. Write without censorship what you suspect they actually want. More control over your time, a buffer for their own reputation. Access to information, contacts, or free emotional labor. Then write how your specific weakness serves that goal. Your need to be liked, your fear of conflict, your dependence on their approval or money. Do not sanitize it. This is your private intelligence report. Move 2. Identify one resource you are feeding into their web that you can quietly reduce over the next 7 days. Time, information, emotional labor, access to your plans. You think pulling back has to mean confrontation, but that is the trap. The 48 laws are clear. Power flows to those who control access. So you start small, you respond slower. You share less detail, you become busy. You listen, but you no longer reveal. Outwardly, nothing explodes. Inwardly, the supply line they rely on begins to close. Move 3. You upgrade your operating system. 1 Machiavellian upgrade. 1 48 laws upgrade. From Machiavelli, you might clarify your non-negotiables, what you will no longer tolerate in this game, regardless of guilt or pressure. Or you quietly plan an exit from their territory, a new job lead, a separate bank account, an alternative support network. Or you consolidate your focus, stop scattering energy across 10 battles, and choose the one front that actually decides the war. From the 48 laws, pick one behavioral discipline. Say less, reveal less, manage your image with precision. You answer questions with shorter responses. You let silences hang. You stop explaining your every move. You cultivate an air of calm, deliberate distance that makes the manipulator wonder what you know. Do not leave this vague. Open your calendar and schedule a 30-minute strategy session within the next 24 hours. Name it power audit, exit planning, control reclaim. When the time comes, phone away, notifications off, pen out. You are not scrolling. You are restructuring the chessboard. The most terrifying part, these look like small moves. A page of writing, slightly less access, subtle behavioral shifts. But structures of control do not collapse in one dramatic speech. They crack in quiet, calculated adjustments. The manipulator will feel it. They will not be able to name it, but they will sense the prey is no longer compliant. And in the next section, you will see how combining the prince with the 48 laws turns those first cracks into a full architectural collapse of their power. Those first cracks in their control are not the real victory. The real victory is when they stop even trying to build a web around you, because you no longer look like profitable prey. Listen carefully. Skilled manipulators are not random. They are investors. They scan rooms and relationships for a specific portfolio of weaknesses: emotional reactivity, a deep need for approval, fear of conflict, social isolation, and total ignorance of power dynamics. If you flare up when challenged, melt when praised, freeze when confronted, and have no one to verify their version of reality, you are a high-yield asset in their game. You think they are drawn to your kindness, but they are drawn to your unguarded nervous system. They test how quickly you apologize, how desperately you explain yourself, how easily guilt makes you fold. They watch who you talk to, who you avoid, whether you understand concepts like leverage, reputation, and Machiavellian strategy. The more you signal, "I don't understand the game," the more they tighten control. But from this moment forward, something shifts. You have been training yourself to swap emotion for analysis, to see behavior as a system instead of a personal attack. You have started to think in structures. Who controls information? Who depends on whom? Where the real power flows? You practice controlled disclosure, revealing less, confirming more, forcing clarity in writing. Suddenly, from their perspective, you are expensive. You require effort. You do not deliver the same emotional profit. Stop broadcasting reactivity. Start broadcasting calculation. When you answer slowly instead of instantly defending yourself, when you ask, "What exactly are you asking me to agree to?" instead of collapsing into appeasement, you force them into the open. Their favorite trap, fog and speed, no longer works. They either back off or have to escalate into obvious aggression, which exposes them. This is where everything changes. You're about to discover the quiet freedom of becoming boring to predators. Less drama, fewer crises. No more midnight monologues where you are the designated therapist, scapegoat, and emergency resource. Your calendar stops being a battlefield and becomes a construction site. Time and energy flow into your own projects, your own alliances, your own long game of influence. The most terrifying part, on the surface, nothing looks dramatic. You still smile, you still help, but it is warm by choice, not by compulsion. You become generous from strength, not from fear of abandonment. You can say yes without resenting it, and no without writing a 3-page essay defending your decision. That is not coldness. That is sovereignty. Every manipulator you outgrow is proof that your value is rising. Their frustration is a metric. Their confusion is a compliment. You are moving from pawn to player on the chessboard, from background resource to independent center of power. And both Machiavelli and the 48 Laws would agree. The person who cannot be easily controlled becomes the one who must be carefully negotiated with. But here is the first question that will change everything. Once you are no longer easy prey, how do you turn that stability into active strategic power without becoming the very enemy you escaped? In the next section, you will see how the hybrid of the Prince and the 48 Laws answers that with a brutal kind of elegance. Once you are no longer easy prey, the next decision is brutal in its simplicity. You either keep living inside someone else's strategy, or you start writing your own. There is no neutral ground. If you walk away from this and do nothing, you are not staying out of the game. You are volunteering to be a piece on someone else's chessboard, moved by hands that read the Prince and the 48 Laws long before you even heard their names. Listen carefully. The people who control your schedule, your paycheck, your reputation, your sense of worth, they are not confused. They are not bad at communication. They are running scripts. If you close this video and return to your life as if this was entertainment, you are agreeing to keep playing your role in their script. You think you are choosing peace, but you are choosing obedience to a story you did not write. Here is the first question that will change everything. When you go to sleep tonight, what story are you going to tell yourself about why your life feels the way it does? That people misunderstand you? That it's all about feelings and miscommunication? Or will you finally admit the darker, cleaner truth, that this has always been about power, incentives, and strategy? Stop asking why they keep hurting you. Start asking what they gain every time you stay quiet, confused, and compliant. This is where everything changes. You can decide that tonight is the last night you pretend this is random. The last night you explain away patterns as stress or a bad day. From this moment forward, you either see the web or you stay trapped in it. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about refusing to live one more year as prey in a game you never studied. So you adopt a new identity sentence. Say it out loud, even if it feels unnatural at first. I am someone who studies power, not to dominate, but to never be dominated again. That is your line in the sand. That is you stepping out of the role of naive target and into the role Machiavelli actually respected. The person who learns, adapts, and refuses to be the easy victim twice. Pattern interrupt. Do not treat this as background noise while you scroll. Treat this as training. The manipulator in your life is not watching cat videos to get better at control. They are reading case studies, copying tactics, refining their strategy every time you react. While you heal, they rehearse. While you forgive, they upgrade. So rewatch. Take notes. Pause and write down which law your boss uses, which Machiavellian move your ex keeps repeating, which trap you keep walking into. Build a private manual on your own life. You are about to become the one person in your environment who is no longer surprised by the game. You are not helpless. You are not naive anymore. The fact that you are still here, still listening, means you are ready to step into a different game entirely. In the next part, you will see exactly how to turn this new identity into concrete moves, so the script you live in finally belongs to you. From this moment forward, you are not watching content. You are sitting in a war room. You have two blueprints on the table: Machiavelli's emergency manual and Greene's 48 laws. The question now is not which one is prettier. The question is, which one has already been used on you? Listen carefully. Scroll down and tell me, directly, which system did you recognize in your own life? Was it the Prince, the cold, survival-focused strategy of fear, instability, and sudden moves? Or was it the 48 laws, the slow, elegant web of image, seduction, and invisible influence? Name it. Then write your first move. What is the concrete strategic action you are about to take? Documenting, distancing, confronting, or quietly rebuilding your own power base. You think commenting is about engagement, but it isn't. It is about identity. When you write it, you are declaring to yourself, I am no longer prey. Most people, when they finally see the game, either sink back into denial or they explode alone. You will do something different. Stop suffering in silence. Start using language. Share this video with one person you know is being quietly controlled, a friend whose partner chips away at their confidence, a coworker whose boss uses praise and guilt like chains, a sibling trapped in a family hierarchy they never chose. Frame it clearly. You are not crazy. Here is the vocabulary no one ever gave you. You are not sending a clip. You are throwing them a rope. If you want this to be more than a single moment of realization, you need training. Ongoing, structured, relentless. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because this channel is not entertainment, it is your training ground in power, strategy, and psychological self-defense. You are about to build a library in your own mind, patterns of manipulation, counter moves, and long game thinking that make you untouchable to amateurs and deeply inconvenient to professionals. Here is the first question that will change everything. Do you want to stop being controlled, or do you want to understand control so deeply that no manipulator can ever walk you into a trap again? This is where everything changes. In the next video, we go even deeper. Every one of the 48 laws of power, dissected through a Machiavellian lens, law by law. You will see which laws a modern prince actually uses, which ones expose you as a courtier, and where the two systems secretly contradict each other. After that, we'll break down a real modern battle, the prince who holds the title versus the courtier who holds the room. This isn't about becoming cruel, it's about refusing to play the role of obedient victim in someone else's script. You have seen behind the curtain. Now it's your move. Do not walk back onto the stage as the puppet when you can step into the role of strategist.